Hey guys, this is Will of Naruto has Solo Leveling Part 1. Sorry I haven't uploaded the past few days. A few things kind of came up. But either way, don't forget to like, subscribe if you guys like this, this what if. Other than that, let's get into the video. Everything was the same in Naruto. Before he was born, Minato still died, Kushina still died. Everything's the exact same until he was around 5. And of course, Sasuke is also around 5. I made sure to check their ages, and they're both around the exact same age. They're only about a few months apart. So again, Naruto's around 5, Sasuke is also around 5. One day, Naruto would just be roaming the streets. At this point, Danzo has already exposed Naruto for being the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, so he's already hated by the village and most ninjas. As he's walking, all of Konoha would hear a light, like a big lightning strike. Something that at first it would seem normal, but when they start to think about it, it doesn't seem normal whatsoever. It was above average lightning strike. On top of that, it's a clear day. There's no rain. There's no nothing. It was just a clear sky and all of a sudden lightning. The Hokage decided to send some ninjas to go investigate what where the lightning came from, because it could very possibly be somebody trying to invade the leaf and using lightning style ninjutsus. He sends around 12 ninjas, or at first only around 7 or 5 ish, and when they get there, they find a what seems to be a big portal. It's blue. It's huge. And so, after getting permission from the Hokage to enter, they also sent a few ninjas to go with them. So around 12 in total. Also, none of the ninjas are important. They're all just basically background characters, so it doesn't really matter if they die. Just saying this just in case. Naruto was also being kind of snoopy and decided to follow where he found the lightning to crash at, or at least come from. And of course, there's also Anbu chasing Naruto to make sure that he doesn't get in trouble. But since it's such a big forest, because the lightning landed right in the middle of the forest, it was just too big for any of the Anbu to track him. And on top of that, there was also other ninjas, and Naruto barely had chakra at this point, so they couldn't even sense his chakra that well, and they eventually lost him. Naruto basically stood around the same spot. He was in a tree hiding and snooping, looking at all the ninjas getting a bit of gear, and all of them would walk in. Naruto would wait there and wait for the ninjas to return, because he was actually really curious on what the portal was, and he actually really wanted to go in, but decided to just wait. But after a while, of course, him being Naruto, his curiosity side got the better of him, and he walked into the portal. At first, he walked in, and it was kind of like a huge cave system. It was pretty big. There weren't any monsters at this point, because all the ninjas that were there before defeated them. And in this, what if, nobody is awakened. Unlike hunters, there's no such thing as hunters in Naruto. Nobody's really going to be awakened. It's mainly just a one-time thing. But since they have chakras, and since they have, basically technically powers already, they were easily able to take care of those monsters. Eventually, Naruto keeps on going, and he reaches a huge door, and he tries to enter it. He basically tries to open it, but it's way too big, and also it won't budge. And so he decides to just wait there, and eventually the door starts to open. And when he peeks inside, he sees just only around 5 ninjas, and they're all surrounded by these big statues that are somewhat coming close to them unless they look. And one ninja already started running off because he got scared, and so eventually most of the ninjas that were already selfish left, and there are only around 2 ninjas behind. And so Naruto, being Naruto, was still very confused, and the ninjas told Naruto to come here, that they need their help, or his help, in order to complete this mission. And Naruto, being Naruto, wanting to help out, starts to walk towards them. And none of the statues are really noticing him that much. And the ninjas basically told Naruto that if he stayed here and looked at the statues, that he would be promoted to an actual ninja, to a genin, or yeah, genin. I'm pretty sure that's the starter. And Naruto, of course, being Naruto, wanting to become a ninja already, or wanting to become the Hokage, when he's older, decided this might help me, and basically fell for their trick, and they basically abandoned Naruto. At this point, since there's only one person there, all the statues start moving like how they do in the original Solo Leveling, and they start walking towards Naruto, and Naruto, they're basically fighting him. And since Naruto's still a kid and barely even has control of his own chakra, he can't really do a single thing. He keeps on trying and trying, but he realizes that they're way too strong for him. And as he fought, eventually one of the statues actually ended up basically chopping off his arm, and Naruto was there basically screaming in pain. And he realized that he might actually die pretty soon, and so he doesn't really know what to do except to basically not give up and keep on fighting. And of course, the statues are just too strong for him. And Kurama would eventually feel Naruto slowly dying and would give him a bit of his chakra, and he would do this for a selfish reason. And this reason is because if Naruto dies, he technically or also dies. Although he technically gets reborn, or since he's only chakra, and he technically gets reborn, he still doesn't want like die and have to wait that long. And so he gives Naruto some chakra in order for himself not to die. Naruto's arm would already start to self heal as soon as Kurama gave Naruto some chakra. He would give enough to make sure that Naruto wouldn't be in danger, because again, if Naruto dies, he would also die, and his body, since he's still a kid, would barely be able to take like a lot of chakra. So he just gave him enough for Naruto to get a power boost and start healing, and his arm would like slowly start to grow back. Because I'm pretty sure heals and wounds would heal back by itself. Because remember, Sasuke went through Naruto in the original series and Chidori'd him right through the like through one of his shoulders basically, but it healed back. So I'm gonna say that Naruto's arm would basically just heal back a bit. And even with all this power, it still wasn't enough for him. Once again, he was about to die. He would hear kind of a voice or something. He would look in front of him, and he thought he was going like just crazy at this point, because he would see some sort of menu that would just pop up in front of him, and he read what the menu said out loud. And he also noticed that when he looked around, all the statues were basically frozen. None of them were attacking. They looked like they were about to attack him, but none of them were just moving at all. And so he read it out loud, and it said, "You do not have much time. If you do not accept, your heart will stop in 0.02 seconds." After a while, Naruto decided to accept, still thinking he's about to die either way. Then he would pass out. He would wake up in a hospital bed thinking that maybe he dreamed it all up and that he was in some sort of accident. And the reason for this is because when he looked at his arm, it was no longer chopped off. It was actually fully healed, and as if nothing even ever happened to him. All he saw was just a little bit of a scar, but he didn't really pay attention to it. But then he looked in front of him, and that's when he realized it wasn't a dream, because he still saw the menu. And even after the doctor came in, the menu was still up, and Naruto like looked at the doctor, and the doctor didn't say anything about the menu because, well, the doctor can't say or can't see the menu. Only Naruto can. And so Naruto would still think that maybe he's just going crazy or something's happening. And when he looked at the menu, there was also a message. He read it in his head, and it said, "Welcome, congrats on awakening." And it says awakening and not reawakening, because again, nobody has awakened. Technically, he's the first one to awaken and the only one to awaken. And also there that portal that opened up, that had the dungeon portal that opened up, is the only dungeon that actually opened up. There's no other dungeons or portals at all. It was only that one. And even afterwards, after all the ninjas are here, I'll explain this in little. Basically, the Hokage visited Naruto as soon as he heard that he'd woken up. He was informed about Naruto was informed about what happened. Only around 5 out of the 12 ninjas that went to the portal came back alive. They had informed the Hokage of what happened, except for the part where they left Naruto behind to die. The Anbus that were watching over him reported to the Hokage that Naruto was missing, and that he was around the forest area when he disappeared. They couldn't find him, and eventually the ninjas, out of a little bit of self-guilt, not that much because again, Naruto's a Nine-Tails and he's hated by a lot of ninjas, and plus the Hokage basically interrogated them, and the ninjas eventually admitted to it. The Hokage got them in trouble and demoted them. The Hokage also sent out some of the top ninjas into the portal in hope that Naruto may still be alive. The ninjas said that it was a dumb move and that Naruto was probably already dead, and sending more ninjas would lead to even more death. Eventually, the ninjas did actually end up finding Naruto. They found their way through the cave and opened the door. None of the statues were moving anymore. They're all back in their original place, and they were able to get Naruto and safely leave. And once they left the portal or the dungeon, the portal slowly shrank and basically disappeared. And when they left, they checked his pulse to make sure, well, he was for sure still alive and that his breathing was completely normal. And it seemed as if he was just fine. They still took him to the hospital, and the doctors examined him, and there was nothing wrong with him. He was perfectly fine, just extremely tired for some reason. They noticed that his arm seemed to have been injured, but it was still fine because they did see the scar that was around his arm. And even after that, the portal was still kind of under investigation. Although it was gone, they were checking around the area to see if there's any like clues of what it was. And it's basically now top secret that only some of the top ninjas know, and mainly the elders. Later that day, Naruto would basically decide to go back home. He would get discharged from the hospital pretty early due to not having bad injuries. At this point, Naruto still hasn't entered the academy yet, and so he's basically just home, sleeping, and he decides to mess around with the menu, and he sees that there's something called daily task, and it says that if they are not completed, there will be a punishment. And Naruto, being Naruto, wouldn't believe it and would basically just end up falling asleep. And he would slowly like keep on looking at the menu, and there'd be a timer, showing how much time he has until he has to complete a task or complete all of his tasks. Naruto would then open his eyes and he would find himself in some sort of desert, and there'd be some giant monsters that would basically be chasing Naruto, and Naruto would have to be in here for around I forgot, 1 2 hours, and would still eventually survive just by running and hiding. Naruto finally got teleported back. A whole bunch of the sand would also come with him. Naruto then realized that whatever the menu is, he does actually have to do the task or the daily challenges that are, that are put up there. And so the next day, as soon as Naruto wakes up, he starts doing the tasks, which at first are really easy. The first one is run or do 10 push ups, 10 sit ups, um, 10 squats, and run for 1 mile or around 1 mile. And to Naruto, this is pretty easy because although the push ups and everything he's not used to doing, he would mainly run around all day. And so he's pretty used to this. So far, the first few days were really easy for him. As the days passed, the challenges would slowly get harder, eventually into like 12 push-ups, a little bit more to run, and so on. And as he grew older, the more harder the challenges become. But also, he noticed that there was something called stats, and he would click on this on the menu, and it would show his strength, health, defense, and everything. And at this point, it's still only been like around a week since he woke up from that accident and has received the menu or solo leveling. He would also notice that after each time he completes, his daily challenges, he would get a reward, and he would claim it every single time and just put it into his inventory. After around a week again, he is starting to get used to everything. He even gets some sort of key, and he realizes that he's also able to basically grab things out of the menu and basically make things appear from thin air, which is something new that Naruto has never seen before. He decides not to show anybody just in case. And eventually Naruto's stats would slowly increase, and he would eventually grab one of the keys that would be gifted to him after completing one of the challenges, which was called a dungeon key. And he grabbed it, and basically it told him where to go and where it was located. And when he went in, that like everywhere it basically changed. At first it was a normal place, and as soon as he grabbed the key and went forward, all of a sudden it just turned into something that didn't seem normal, something out of like a scary movie. And so a whole bunch of monsters, like wolves, would like giant monster wolves basically would start attacking Naruto. And he noticed that they have a name, and it's basically just wolf beast. And um Naruto would see that their names are also colored, and they're colored yellow, and he doesn't know if this means something or if it's just each beast has different colors. And so At first, he isn't really able to defeat any until eventually he defeats his first, which he then looks at his stats and realizes that killing these give him a huge amount of points and increases his strength and everything. And eventually, a whole bunch of more would start like coming towards him, which Naruto would be able to easily defeat, or not easily defeat, but basically just defeat slowly. Eventually, one that would drop, or they would drop, basically loot, each one of them, and Naruto would be able to make kind of a little mini sword out of it. And he notices that as he fights more and more, their names, it starts to turn into, instead of a yellowish color, it turns mainly white until eventually he reaches the dungeon boss basically. And once he gets to here, he realizes that the name is actually yellow, and so he realizes that this much must mean basically each mob, he can determine how hard it is for him to beat by the color of their name. And he now knows that yellow means it's decently, or it's like kind of hard but possible to defeat, and then white means it's extremely easy, basically easy and medium. He hasn't seen any sort of red, which he predicts will be what is basically a really hard mob to defeat. Naruto would eventually still defeat the dungeon boss, and it will drop basically these chests, and Naruto was able to basically pick it up and just get all the loot and then leave. Naruto found those pretty interesting and pretty fun, and notices how again they make his level and his stats go up by a lot more than doing challenges. And so Naruto would go home and fall back asleep. And that's where I'm going to leave off this what if. Sorry that if it's a little bit more shorter than usual. Also sorry if I sound a little bit weird, or if I, like, while I'm talking, it just doesn't sound normal. It's because I recently got my braces taken off and I'm still getting used to talking without them, and it kind of makes me slur my words a bit. So either way, sorry about that. Hopefully I'll get more used to it as I make more videos. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, like, subscribe, everything, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.